everyone. I'm Rob Thomas with Club and Resort Business, and welcome to another edition of Club and Resort Talks. I'm here with Phil Keren, our senior editor. Phil, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Rob. It's going well. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. Hey, a little tired. You know, you and
Yes.
I just came back from the CMAA World Conference and Business Expo. I've been to several of these now, but this, like a lot of these things, was your first experience. What do you think?
Oh, I had a great time. And yes, you're right. I've been with Club and Resort Business a little less than a year right now. And obviously my first time attending the CMAA World Conference and Business Expo, this time at Gaylord Palms Resort and Convention Center in Orlando. It was nice to speak with company representatives that I'm normally emailing with and sometimes on the phone with. Nice to meet people in person, put faces with names and, connect with people, if you will. Had a great time with that. It was a lot of fun. Also, we went, of course, to that idea fair, which, of course, is what we use to then find ideas for that we will then feature in our June issue of Club and Resort Business. Thought there were really some great ideas. Just a couple I wanted to mention real quick. Club doing an early Santa photos with Santa Claus event. Thought that was a neat idea. That way people can then have that as a Christmas card they send out to family and friends. Oftentimes Santa events don't happen soon enough for that. We're on a podcast here. There was actually a club that does podcasts where they interview club employees and members get to hear about a little bit more about what employees are doing at the club. I thought that was cool. There was a place that had a dog show, a club that did a hidden QR codes, which I thought was kind of neat. Like they'd have a QR code somewhere on the property. You could even kind of do like a scavenger hunt and find it. And if you scanned it, it would take you to a website and you could earn a free entree from the club's restaurant. So I thought that was kind of cool. And one other one that I thought was interesting, a club actually had an emergency alert system where if there was a member or guest on site who was experiencing some kind of health emergency, a system was set up where members who have medical training would be notified of it via text and could perhaps, if you will, be the first responders, getting there before the actual first responders to perhaps get, some emergency assistance started. I thought that was a really innovative idea. I even talked to a gentleman who was standing next to me as we were looking at the poster boards. And, he brought up the fact that obviously if you're out on a golf course, that in particular would come in handy. If somebody's experiencing perhaps a heart attack or something else like that on a golf course, far distance from emergency access, and if you have another golfer out there perhaps who does have the medical training, they could get notified of it and drive over on a cart and provide assistance. A lot of great stuff there.
Yeah, that's terrific. We all, the whole world was kind of reintroduced to first responders with the Damar Hamlin situation for the Buffalo Bills when he collapsed, his heart stopped beating. And they said
Right.
that first 5 minutes that the stadium personnel administered saved his life. And now look at him. He's up and about and doing great things for his charity. So that sounds like a fantastic idea. A lot better, a lot deeper than a dog and pony show. But not that dog and pony shows are bad. That's
Right.
a huge part of the clubs and the kids love them. But boy, having that technology around there that could save somebody's life, that's fantastic.
It really is. It was really, and that actually, the one I'm mentioning there, that was a prize winner in one of the categories. I actually don't recall which of the categories right now, but it was a ribbon winner, if you will. And I did think that was a very innovative idea because indeed you often will have plenty of club members who have some type of medical training. So why not, take advantage of that and allow them to, again, perhaps be able to get some emergency assistance started before the first responders can get on scene.
Well, I think that's a nice tease, a little sneak peek into our June issue, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah,
Hey,
no doubt.
Speaking of putting faces to names, you finally got to meet the legendary Brian Langhorst from Eustace Chair.
Oh, yes.
His energy is it's outstanding, right? It's second to none. That guy, mile a minute and a big shooter for Club and Resort Business. Love hearing him, love hearing from him. Anytime you have a sponsor like Brian and Eustace Chair that is such a fan, boy, can't get enough of that.
Yes. And he was there doing his well-known demonstration of standing up on his chair to show, I guess, if you will, showcase the strength and highlight the strength and durability of the product. Right?
Yeah. The Eustace joint is what that's
Yes.
called. And
Okay.
we're always, I mean, you've got 3 kids. I've got 3 kids, and I can't tell you how many times I said, hey guys, 4 on the floor, when
Right.
they're leaning back in their chair and they want to,
Yeah.
hey, don't have to worry about that. I mean, you don't want to encourage that because you can still fall back and crack your head on something, but at least the chair is not going to break. That was I love that display. I love when Brian gets up on that chair and does that. It's terrific.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun for sure.
Hey, I don't know if you happen to notice this, but last week, I think it was well, I don't want to give it name because this is going to be timeless, but Padel is coming, right? It's coming in full force.
Yes.
Pickleball is huge. We read about pickleball several times a week, and the rising tide lifting all the ships, right? The tennis is getting bigger, platform tennis. Well, Padel, and we talked to another company, I believe it was AFP Courts and the Hinding Group, I think maybe it was their US counterpart, but this Padel is huge, started in Spain, and it has expanded throughout France or throughout Europe, France, the UK. And it's coming. It's already in some clubs. The Weston Racket Club in Florida, I know that recently installed 2 Padel courts outdoors. It's kind of like a cross between tennis and squash. You playing the ball off of these glass walls, but you're outside and or inside, but it's primarily outside. And the court is a different material, almost like a fuzzy material. It's crazy. I watched some YouTube videos when I got home from the CMAA, and it's a fast-paced sport. Balls are rocketing left and right and near, like I said, I mean, it's kind of like, I played a lot of racquetball growing up, and
I played
playing
some,
off that back wall, playing off the sidewalls. It's exciting. It's hard for me to figure out the rules, what's a legal shot and what's not, but man, I'm looking forward to Padel getting here and trying it myself.
Right. And I know it was interesting to learn. I guess it's already been, well, you mentioned Spain. I guess it's already been quite popular in Europe for quite a while here. And it's just starting to make its way over to our side of the Atlantic Ocean. And yeah, it looks exciting. I would think it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounded like it was a little closer to being something that tennis players would be interested in more than pickleball. But you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is that what we heard from the gentleman
I think
we
it's
spoke with? Yes.
A little more fast-paced and a little more demanding than than pickleball. Pickleball can be played by anybody, obviously. Little kids, old people, but I think this sport was a little more demanding just by looking at. I mean, I looked at probably a high-level Padel match. It was very demanding to the point where a legal shot hit was going to go out of the court. A guy reached out or kind of jumped out the court outside and hit a ball back into play.
Really?
Got back on the defense. It was, I mean, my eyes were all over the place. It looked like a heck of a sport. And I'm looking forward to getting out there and trying it myself.
That would be fun to try. I did play a little bit of racquetball growing up. And so if it has some elements of that, I think I would enjoy that too. Sure.
Yeah. And that ball was moving pretty quick too. But not so, it's not like close quarters tennis where that ball's coming at you 100+ miles an hour. Slower than that, but certainly faster than a lot of the pickleball we're seeing now, where it's just dink and dunk. Not taking anything from pickleball. Pickleball is fun. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America for a reason. But Padel, and hey, if you want to go to our website and type in what is Padel, Padel. There's an FAQ right there on our website. It'll explain a little bit more. Go to YouTube, watch some videos, really take a deep dive, but you can start at our website, clubandresortbusiness.com.
Yep, that sounds good. And actually, it's kind of a thought too, I guess, as we're hearing about the sport coming this way. I think we'll probably want to share some more FAQs to provide some more information about rules and strategies for the game, just like we've done recently with pickleball. Too.
Yeah. Rules, strategy, how much space it's going to take at your club. It's smaller than tennis court, maybe a little bit bigger than a pickleball court. So, you get to plan this stuff out ahead. Obviously, capital expenditures and all that stuff. You can't just go out there and hey, there's an open spot out there by the parking lot. Let's put a padel court. You have to plan ahead. So start doing it now because it's going to be here. It's going to be here and it's going to be big.
Yeah, sounds like it. Looking forward to it.
Hey, Phil, can you tell me? I think you had a little interview today or this week. Give us a little tease about what we can look forward to in the second half of this podcast.
Oh, absolutely, Rob. Well, actually, speaking of our the shows we've gone to, actually, our first show that we went to in Orlando, the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America conference and trade show, also in Orlando. Got to make two visits to Orlando. I met a gentleman named it's Dr. Bern Bernacki. He's president of the Golf Heritage Society. Had a nice conversation with him about the organization, and just thought it would be nice for us to learn more about the Golf Heritage Society. Society was founded in 1970. It's a group, global nonprofit organization that honors and promotes golf history. So if you're interested in golf history, the society will connect you with people who share your interest. They have several collectors groups, if you will, people who collect golf art, books, golf balls, clubs, tournament memorabilia, medals, trophies, all kinds of things, stamps, even golf themed stamps are there as part of that as well. They have some events during the year, the society. So I recently spoke with Dr. Bernacki, had a nice conversation with him, talked a little bit about the society's history, kind of how it got started, how he got involved with it, member events and activities and everything, and also talked about how people can become a member. It was a great conversation. Really enjoyed it.
I'm looking forward to it. Last year I was at the Atlanta Athletic Club and they have a museum within their facility, which was spectacular. All sorts of Bobby Jones stuff. That's his club. So that's really interesting as far as the memorabilia and the historical aspect. I mean, golf dates way back. So lot to look at. I'm looking forward to seeing your interview. Let's get to it.
I'm Phil Keren with Club and Resort Business. Well, I recently attended the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America conference and trade show in Orlando. And I had a great time visiting with people, learning about some of the products and services available to golf course superintendents. And while there, I had a nice conversation with a gentleman named Dr. Bern Bernacki. He's the president of the Golf Heritage Society. Society was founded in 1970. It's a global nonprofit organization that honors and promotes golf history. Well, I love golf. I love history. So I thought it'd be great to have Dr. Bernacki on the show to talk more about the Society's mission and programs. Dr. Bernacki, welcome to the show.
Phil, thanks so much for having me. It was great to meet you there in Orlando.
It was. The weather was wonderful too. Couldn't ask for better weather. First of all, can you kind of give us a short history of sort of how and why the Golf Heritage Society was formed?
Sure. Well, we were formed, as you said, Phil, in 1970, and we were originally known as the Golf Collectors Society. And that happened when a gentleman from Dayton, Bob Kuntz, he collected golf balls and antique golf clubs, met up with a fellow from Philadelphia, Joe Murdoch. And he was an avid book collector, and he had quite an extensive collection. And he also knew the history of the game quite definitively. So these gentlemen started to interact mostly by mail and had some exchange, which became our original collection of reflections on collecting and such. And we called it the Bulletin. And over time, it got bigger and bigger, and more people joined. Quickly, they had 120. And then before you know it, at their peak, we had about 1,000 plus contributors from the golf industry. So we had quite an extensive, and we're still about 1,000 members. But in 2018, we understood the membership to be more than collectors. We have historians, players, both amateur players, professional players, hickory players, classic golf players, modern players, and people generally share interests around the game of golf. You know, the people who are interested in art, the literature, there's so many areas of the game that you can explore. Well, when we come together, it's obvious that it's not just collecting, it's an appreciation of the game in its many forms.
Okay. And for yourself, Dr. Bernacki, how did you get involved with the society? How did that come about?
Well, when you're kicking around an antique shop and doing that sort of thing, you sort of like, well, why am I here? What am I doing here? And I got a great suggestion from my lovely wife. She says, Bern, why don't you take a look around for some golf stuff? And it sort of evolved into an interest, and I picked up a few old beat around clubs. By the way, there are two kind of old clubs. um, um, the player clubs, we call them bangers, and more collectible, valuable, called hangers. Those you hang up and know the history about, and the bangers you go out and play with. So I started putting those together, and I discovered a group that people that actually go out and play with these things, and it was the Golf Collector Society group. And it's been a wonderful ride for about 30 years.
Okay. So it started off as just curious, you were trying to find older golf clubs or other paraphernalia. Where were you going to find those items back 3 decades ago?
Well, the original time I was in an antique shop with my wife who was looking for a particular subject item, and I was staring at the ceiling, and it was a great suggestion. And before you know, we started interacting with people in different venues, sometimes an antique store, sometimes a yard sale. And when you talk to people, they sort of size you up about your level of interest. Are you an entrepreneur to buy and sell, or you truly have an interest? And in one place in particular, in a small town where we have a vacation getaway, we were in an antique shop, and we had been in there 3 or 4 times talking to Mr. Shoemaker. And one day we were chit-chatting, and he recognized me. He says, "You've been in here a few times, haven't you?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I have." And he says, you always ask me, do I have any golf stuff?" I said, "Yes, sir, that is correct." And he says, "And I always don't have anything." And I said, "Well, you might someday." He says, "Well, I found some things at home from my family, and now that I've gotten to know you, I'm going to show them to you." And he pulled out 2 golf clubs that were his dad's golf clubs. Now we're going back, he's 75, 80 then, 10 years ago. And then these were, go way back. They were collectible golf clubs. And when he showed them to me, there was a stamp mark on this driver, and it was his dad's initials. So immediately it made a connection between that golf club and Mr. Shoemaker and our connection to his store and me. So he sold it to me. I thought it was a good bit of money because I hadn't really done a lot of collecting. And it was $50. And, when I went home and researched it, it was selling for $600, and he
Wow.
wanted me to have it. Yeah. So, it's a kind of thing that there's also a fellowship, and you want to transfer a ownership of an item that may be special to you to make sure it has a good home.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Well, and on that point, so do you then is that your specialty personally? Is that your to collect clubs, if you will, or are there other specialties there?
Well, Phil, I'm a family doctor, and that's sort of general medicine. So that means I do everything from pediatrics to geriatrics to end of life care, and all the different subspecialties, sports medicine, you name it. So I do enjoy the collecting of a lot of different things. Yes, I have some books, I have some ceramics, and there's any number of things. I have clubs that I like to play with, and clubs that are more the hangers, the collectible items. So it's great fun. And I would say that it can be overwhelming to decide. Let me share with you that I think there are 3 kinds of collectibles. There
Okay.
are personally um, sentimental items, and they can be really inexpensive. It can be a golf pencil or a scorecard where you first played with your Uncle Harry, or just a simple thing. The economic and historic collectibles, they have that kind of value, and they're sought after. You see them on eBay, you see them in auctions, and they're fascinating to follow. And our society definitely has folks who do that and collect on the high end and advise people on the high end. And then there's something in between that I think is just kind of a neat little thing that you found somewhere. And I call those fun collectibles. If
Hmm.
you have a second, I'll just show you one of them.
Sure. Go ahead. That'd be great.
This little guy is a very simple thing. It's a one cigarette ashtray. It's made of glass and it's etched. And as you can see, it's got two golfers in it. And if I rotate it a little bit, you can see the depth of it. It's a little thing. It's just about 2 inches long, but it's a cool little item. It's not financially, economically of great value, but I can tell you it's a cute little thing. I don't smoke cigarettes, but it just sort of lays on my desk and I like it because it's cool. So it makes me smile. So I like it. I'm going to show you something else. This is a famous golf ball called the Varden Flyer. And you know, when Harry Varden came to the US from England to promote the game of golf here, he played in several matches. And he also had the vision of starting to share the game, and he created the Varden golf ball with one of the companies. And this golf ball is a gutty ball. It's a solid ball. It's original, so it's over 100 years old,
Hmm.
and it's pretty cool. And it's bumpy. That makes it a bramble ball. And I have, you know, if you're a ball collector, you might have, you know, 10 of these and 10 of these and 10 of these based on what period of golf. I also have an interesting little bramble ball, and it's a practice golf ball. And this golf ball is lightweight, limited distance, and it was promoted by Jack Nicklaus because he had in the Caribbean some short courses that he designed, and he was thinking about, should we have a short golf ball? There aren't a lot of these, so it makes it an interesting collectible with a little story behind it connecting to Jack Nicklaus.
Excellent. Excellent. Talk a little bit too about what are some of the benefits available to people who are members of the Golf Heritage Society.
Thank you for asking that. First of all, visiting our website, golfheritage.org, is the way to go. You get a feel for the types of members that we have and the collectors and what their interests are, the historians and what their interests are. But the number one asset of our organization is the knowledge base of our members. There's so many folks with such diverse interest and knowledge. It's incredible. So for $50 a year, which is the greatest bargain in the game of golf today, one can access our website with all 50 years of our journal. Our journal is very fine. It has everything on those auction reports to what's going on in the game of golf. We're coming up on Ryder Cup year. We'll have a series on that. You know, we're becoming more diverse. Women's golf, people of color are invited and welcome to join our society. Younger and older, men and women, we're here for everybody. So golfheritage.org. So when someone says, gee, I'd like a little advice on collecting, I found something that may or may not have value, or I'd like to learn more about the history. Boom, all of a sudden you've got 1,000 new friends that you can start to access a consultant, if you will. And every one of us in the society has been taken under the wing by somebody. Kid, don't collect this way. Kid, do that, don't do this. And it's really a wonderful mentorship and the opportunity to interact with people is just amazing, just amazing.
And actually, speaking of the interaction, I know you recently just had a collectibles show in Dublin, Ohio, near Columbus. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So we call that our winter show.
Mhm.
It was organized first by the Golf Collectors Society and a gentleman who lives in Ohio, Gary Wyckoff. He's a tremendous guy. He was the regional director. He sort of helped us out and took it over, and it sort of became Gary's show. And it used to be called like the Cabin Fever Winter Gathering. And if you could get to Dayton, Ohio, you did it. Well, when Gary took it over, he lives in Dublin. So it's held that one is held at the Embassy Suites, and it's big, it's beautiful, and they have a nice space for us. And we had 75 tables there. And you could go there with money in your pocket and improve your collection. You can go in the room and just be awestruck by all the possibilities, and you can simply walk around the room, interact with people, make some new friends, and decide, wow, this is what I really am attracted to, and learn a little bit and not even spend a dime. So I usually do a little bit of both. I have a budget. I'm looking for certain things that I'd like to maybe expand or improve my collection. When you have 10 balls, then you get a better ball, and number 10 kind of moves to number 11, and it's off your top 10, that sort of thing. So it's really fun to do that. And there's every kind of entertainment opportunity, just learning new things from the membership.
And actually, speaking of the membership, Dr. Bernacki, so if folks listening to this today are interested in becoming a member of Golf Heritage Society, what do they have to do? How can they do that?
Well, first, Phil, we have to go with Dr. B. The Dr. Bernacki is, just a little too formal for me
Is
today.
it okay?
Dr. B. Yeah, we'll
Dr.
go
B.
with Dr.
Good.
B. Yeah.
There
So
you go.
in any case, Dr. B is going to suggest that the way to go is to go on to golfheritage.org. A person can sign up online, and that's not hard. Or they can download an application, look it over. It has collecting types, collectors groups and subgroups, and they can fill that out and mail us a check to the address. So, there's a lot of ways for us to learn to get to know each other and expand the Golf Heritage Society, and your opportunity to enjoy golf in through 1,000 different ways.
Excellent. And I should also mention that I actually I had requested in advance of the interview here a copy of the Journal of the Golf Heritage Society right here. And I actually received that yesterday in the mail. So I appreciate that. And I had a chance to leaf through it a little bit. Looks like an excellent publication with quite a lot of offerings in it for collectors and people who are interested in the history of the game, which I am.
That's really good. So I apologize that we only sent you one. I intended to send you a copy of our visit to Arnold Palmer's Latrobe Country Club, and they have a series of covered bridges going over a winding stream that winds through the property, and it is very Western Pennsylvania. It's really cool.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Dr. B, as we'll say it, I thank you for joining us here today on Club and Resort Talks, and I certainly look forward to us talking again about specific types of collectibles, other elements of golf history. I certainly look forward to having you back on for some further conversations. But thanks for joining us today.
Phil, thank you so much. A pleasure was mine.